You're listening to Little Green Cheese, episode 70. Well, welcome back, Curd Nerds. I'm Gavin Weber, and this podcast is where you can learn about cheese making at home. We've got a full action-packed show this week. So some of the things that have been happening in my world are that I've been putting together a list of artisan cheesemakers in Victoria anyway. I was going to say Australia, but within Victoria. And I'm going to try and visit or reach out to some of these places so that I can, I suppose not do videos in the same style as Will Studd that does the TV show Cheese Slices, but just to, I suppose, reach out and learn a little bit of how they handle their milk and what goes into their cheese making process and stuff like that. Anyway, if any of the small dairy producers here in Victoria do want to reach out to me, then that would be fantastic. You can contact me at Gavin at littlegreencheese.com. So that's Gavin at littlegreencheese.com. And that's where most people send their cheese making questions as well. Anyway, we've got some interesting news and some lovely listener questions as well. So let's get on with the show. So the news this week is from Dairy News, which I believe is a New Zealand publication. It says, engineer excels at cheese making, and this is written by Sudesh Kisan. I believe that's how it's pronounced. The cheese barn, New Zealand names are not my best forte to pronounce. Let me try that again. Haruraki Plains, how's that sound? Could easily be mistaken for just another countryside cafe, but that's where you will go to find New Zealand's best cheese. Standing on a 40-hectare farm, the cheese barn owners Kelvin and Kathy Haig won the 2018 Countdown Champion of Champions Cheese Award commercial at the recent New Zealand Cheese Awards. Their organic cumin seed Gouda was described by the judges as an absolute superb cheese. Set up 20 years ago with second-hand plant and machinery, the cheese barn range today boasts 25 organic products, cheeses, yogurt, butter, and ghee. Kelvin is an engineering and dairy science graduate of Massey University who decided to try his hand at cheese making after working for local dairy companies and overseas building dairy factories. He told Dairy News that while working in Australia commissioning milk pasteurisers, he saw an Italian man stretching mozzarella and decided that would be his dream job. This Italian man owned the farm, milked his own cows and made cheese. I fell in love with the idea, he says. But he had to start from scratch, buying old pieces of machinery and plant and storing them in his brother-in-law's hay barn. He also did a cheese-making course at Massey University and sought advice from the top 4 cheesemakers at the time, Meyer, Mercer, Whitestone, and Mahoe. In 1997, at last summoning the courage to buy the farm at Matatoki, just outside Thames, he moved in, milking 85 cows in the morning and putting together his factory piece by piece during the day. None was done off farm. We went up to milking 110 cows, and it was very hard work, he says. The Haigs applied for BioGrow certification to go organic, and 3 years later they were officially an organic farm. The milk was sent to Anchor Foods, which later became Fonterra. By this time, the cheese barn factory was up and running. Kelvin started making a few basic cheeses, drawing milk from the farm. First cheese made at the plant was camembert, and he threw it out. It wasn't up to his standard. He says with a chuckle. We had a few disasters along the way, but we soon started drawing more and more milk and finally stopped sending milk to Fonterra. As cheese production increased and the cafe started drawing business, Haig sold his cows and started collecting organic milk from neighbouring farms. Now the cheese barn processes organic milk collected from only 2 farmers via the Organic Milk Hub. Most of the milk goes into cheese, the rest into butter and yogurt. The products are sold at the cafe and at selected supermarkets, organic stores, and specialty stores such as Farrow Fresh. Well, that's a really good news story from a guy who decided to give it a go, as they say here in Australia. And he's come up with a fantastic product, obviously 25 different organic products. And he even gave away milking the cows and decided to source the milk from someone else. Anyway, lovely. Congratulations to Kelvin and Kathy. Well done. Great award there. And well deserved by the sounds of it as well. Okay, it's time for some listener questions. And the first one is from Geoff.
G'day, Gavin. Geoff here from the Blue Mountains, New South Wales. What I wanted to ask Gavin was, this will actually be the first lot of cheese that I've made, and I've watched quite a few of the videos and everything like that. My question, though, is that I have a very large pot. It's about 30-litre pot, but it's quite a cheap pot that I bought many years ago, and I'm just a bit concerned that when I actually am making the cheese and stirring it, that it might possibly burn on the bottom. Just wanted to know if you had any thoughts on that. Obviously, I could buy another one, but the cost of buying a pot that size is pretty expensive. So just wanted to know what your thoughts on that was. Thanks very much for that. Bye.
Well, thanks for your question, Geoff. Appreciate it. Now, you didn't actually mention what material the pot was made from. So usually pots that size are made from aluminium, and aluminium is or aluminum, as they say in the north part of America. Aluminium is a reactive metal, and it imparts a metallic flavour within the milk. Now, hopefully it's not aluminium, and if it is, I would not make cheese with an aluminium pot. Now, if you're lucky enough to have a stainless steel pot, then you can upsize the recipes, no problems at all. You wouldn't have any problems with that. But you would have to figure out some way to make a water jacket to heat the milk, because when you're making cheese, you shouldn't directly heat the milk, actually have the flame on the pot that you've got the milk in, because as with all things milky, they tend to burn, and you'll have a burnt flavour imparted into your milk. So if you can figure out some way to make a double boiler sort of system, I know the 30-litre pot sounds quite large, which is double the size of the biggest pot that I've got, then you may be able to get away with it somehow. If you've got a big sink or something like that you can put your cheese-making pot into and have water in there, and if you can source yourself a sous vide that you can control the temperature of the water, which then controls the temperature of the milk in the cheese-making pot, then you've got yourself a nice little system on how to heat your milk up. So hopefully that's helped, Geoff, and you pointed it in the right direction. Okay, the next question is from Jacqui.
Hi, Gavin. My name's Jacqui from New Zealand. I've just made some cow's milk brie, and I used a pear ash on the outside of it. Can you tell me what that should taste like? It tastes quite earthy to me, and I wondered if I had done something wrong. Your advice for me would be greatly appreciated. Thank you.
No problems at all, Jacqui. So when you do coat a mould-ripened cheese with ash, what that tends to do is it neutralises the acidity of the cheese, which gives a better environment for either Penicillium candidum or Geotrichum candidum to grow on the outside of the cheese. And yes, if you put lots on there, it will taste quite earthy. These days, and I probably made the mistake in the video that I made when I made Gomi. What is it? Not Gomi. What was it called? Bloomy Goat Blue is what I called the cheese. What I should have done was made a slurry of ash using some water and some ash, mix that together, and basically dunk the cheese into that slurry, that thick slurry, and the cheese would have been coated a lot easier than it was with the tea ball that I used, which had a lot of ash on the cheese. Now, I produced two cheeses exactly the same using that recipe that I created, and yeah, they did taste a little bit earthy, but there wasn't as much ash as it seems that you may have put onto the cheese. So less is more with ash. It only needs to neutralize the surface of the cheese so that the white molds can bloom and grow vigorously. Hopefully that answers your question. The next question is from John.
Hey, Gavin, this is John from Indiana in the United States, and I was just getting a hold of you because I did something a little exciting the other day when I was doing the quick mozzarella recipe, and I asked you on the live stream if it was possible. I tried it myself, actually. I took the fresh mozzarella after we got done with it and let it sit out and dry a little bit. Then I kind of coated it with olive oil and then rubbed it heavily on the outside with salt. And then I wrapped it in 2 or 3 layers of paper towel and let it sit out on the counter for like 2 to 3 days. And afterwards, after we took it out of the paper towels, we took it and tried to shred it, and it shredded beautifully. We tasted it, and it tasted great. It tasted like a store-bought shredded mozzarella, so it worked and it was wonderful. So I just wanted to get a hold of you. Thanks for your show and thanks for your videos. We really appreciate all your help.
Well, thanks very much, John. Appreciate the feedback. And that sounds like an excellent way to produce a shreddable quick mozzarella, because normally you would have to freeze the quick mozzarella because it has a tendency to go a little bit flat. So by salting the outsides, what you've done is actually drawn out a little bit more of the whey, which is excellent because that's what you need to be able to shred the cheese. And by coating it in olive oil, you've helped to dry out the rind as well. So well done, John. Congratulations on a serendipitous little discovery there. Okay, next question. I think it's actually thanks from Sam.
Hi, Gavin. Just like to say that thanks very much for all your YouTubes. I think they're awesome and have encouraged me to start my own cheese making. I also love that you're an Aussie and live in New South Wales. There's not many people on YouTube who are Aussies, and it's really encouraging to me to know that Australians aren't odd. Thanks very much.
Thank you, Sam. No, Australians aren't odd. I don't live in New South Wales. Sorry about that. I live in Victoria. So hope that's not a point against me there. Anyway, thank you for your lovely words there, Sam. All right, so the next question is from Michelle.
Hi, Gavin. I probably sound like I'm talking in a drum. For some reason, I'm trying it again. But anyway, I just got my first cheese set, and it came with a 1 pound mold. And what I was looking for, and I do have your first book that your wife told me about. I got it through Amazon on my Kindle. But I'm looking for other books to read. I love books that have a variety of a 1 pound cheese, and you can make the same thing up to 4. A variety of, let's say, cheddar. It has one recipe for 1, 2, 3, and 4, where it breaks it down until I can afford to get bigger molds, and I can just start out like feta. It's one book says 3 pounds, and I'm like, I don't have 3 molds. So I think your book has 1 pound in it. I'm not sure. I have to go back and look. But if you can get back to me on that, I'd be really appreciated, and I'll talk to you soon. Thank you very much.
No problems at all, Michelle. Now, I actually do have a book that I'll recommend. Now, in my book, Keep Calm and Make Cheese, most of the recipes are 8 litres, which tend to make about a 2 pound cheese, or what's that, 920 grams. But a good book, and it's written by Mary Karlin, So that's spelled Karlin, Mary Karlin. And she's written a book called Artisan Cheesemaking at Home, Techniques and Recipes for Mastering World-Class Cheeses. Now, it's a great little book. It's hardcover, of course, as most of these books tend to be. I'm not sure of the price, but we actually do have some on our website because I read it and it's such a good book. Now, it does have mostly 1 pound cheeses, or 450 grams for those of us in metric. So anybody wanting to start out and make smaller cheeses to experiment and hone their craft or their hobby, then this is a really good book to start with. It has styles of cheese, so not specific cheeses. It has more styles of cheeses. So I think that's a pretty good go-to book for people who want to make smaller batches of cheeses, and it does have a fairly good variation of cheeses within it. So that book again is Artisan Cheesemaking at Home by Mary Karlin, Techniques and Recipes for Mastering World-Class Cheeses. It's a great little book and I highly recommend it. I've made quite a few cheeses out of that book, but I've scaled the recipe up by simply doubling the ingredients, but keeping the temperatures and the pressures and all of that all the same. And they all seem to work out fine. Anyway, I'll put a link to that book in the show notes, whether it be an affiliate Amazon link or a link to the book in my cheesemaking store. So anyway, thank you very much, Michelle, for your for your voicemail. Okay, a bit of a short one this week, but that's all we've got time for. Thanks very much for listening once again. Don't forget that you can subscribe to the podcast via the app you're probably listening on or via an RSS reader if they still exist. Also, don't forget to pop over and have a look at some of my cheesemaking videos over at cheeseman.tv, and that'll take you straight to my YouTube channel, and you can subscribe there as well. Hit the little bell to get notified when a new video gets released. For upcoming cheesemaking workshop dates, recipes, and most of my videos, you can find those over at littlegreencheese.com. You can also find my ebook, Keep Calm and Make Cheese, A Beginner's Guide to Cheesemaking at Home, which is available in all ebook formats at all good ebook retailers. If you want to find my videos and all the conversation that goes with it, pop over to cheeseman.tv. Don't forget that you can also buy supplies, kits and equipment over at littlegreenworkshops.com.au. Thanks for listening, Curd Nerds, and stay tuned for the next episode of the Little Green Cheese Podcast. During this podcast, you heard royalty-free music by Kevin MacLeod. I played Malt Shop Bop, News Theme, and Call to the Dairy Cows.